All right, hello everyone. I don't know how many people joined tonight. I decided to make a quick, short, like a 30-minute live, just because I completely missed this weekend due to the power outage. Unfortunately, this is what happens periodically here in Michigan. And I plan to have 114,000 subscribers live Saturday or Sunday. Unfortunately, we had no power till late Saturday night and no internet till next day. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do anything. So and tomorrow I gotta go to work. I am getting up early, so just planning to do a quick 30 minutes, your questions, my answers, and we kind of do the topic about power grid in the Soviet Union, since we had a failure of power grid here in Michigan. And by the way, I see you got 8 people joined. Please let me know if the sound is okay. I think I got everything going here correctly. So yeah, I don't know if you heard. It happened on Thursday night. There was bizarre thunderstorm. Just kind of lasted less than an hour. Okay, sound is okay. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. We were actually standing at the window watching over this little pond we have on the back on the back of the house, and it was this insane bright lightings like nonstop going on. Then this crazy wind picked up, then it stopped. Another crazy wind picked up, and then trees were down all over the neighborhood. We lost power literally in minutes after the storm started. So yep. Welcome to life without electricity and internet. My kids suffered greatly, of course. I like reading books, so sleep at night, you do other things during the day. So let's talk about power grid in the Soviet Union, because it's kind of interesting topic to discuss. Now we got Rebecca just joined, became a young Octobrona. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for joining the club. Appreciated it. So anyway, first of all, you need to remember I lived in Kiev, right, capital of Ukraine. So usually capital, it's where the government lives. It's the most reliable grid you can imagine. So I don't recall ever having problem with power being lost for extended period of times, maybe a couple of hours. It got worse after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and main reason, well, after initial mess, is the people began installing air conditioning units in their apartments, and the wiring was never made to handle such a amperage going through it. So they basically started having issue with the wiring in houses and apartment buildings, and the grid wasn't built for such a high demand. And I've experienced it firsthand when I came to visit my parents in the summer. That's where I realized that I want to come to Kiev in the summer. But that was my brother's wedding, so I had to come. I think it was like August. In the middle of the day, there's just power suddenly just went out, and I was planning to call my wife via Skype, and suddenly power is gone. And I was like, "What happened?" And they're like, "Well, they just do planned outages, blackouts in specific areas, so the grid maintains stable." And I was like, "My goodness, what the point to get air conditioning if it's the middle of the day, right in the hottest time of the day, you shut down the power?" So that's kind of a relic of the Soviet era. And I know a lot of people don't believe the climate is changing. I see it firsthand in Ukraine. There was never such a hot summers, and now it's real like uh, I want to say torture, but a scorcher. But during the Soviet days in Kiev, the only outages I remember would be a water outage, because our water system was designed so poorly. We had a central water supply of cold and hot water, and when you send hot water through the pipes in order to make that water last, keep the high temperature longer, correct me if I'm wrong, they add salt. So you add salt to water, so it becomes, let me get that silver button so it'll be visible. How about that? So you have corrosive element you add to the water. And the area I lived, uh, they wanted to finish this construction on time, or so they can get bonuses. and they didn't have a proper piping for the hot water supply, but they had plenty of natural gas piping because that's what we use natural gas. So they used natural gas pipes for the hot water supply. And you may guess what happened in less than 5 years. We started having water issues. Water pipes were bursting. So the life in that South Barshigovka area was a nightmare. Pretty much every summer they will shut off hot water, and they will dig in trenches, replacing pipes. So that was the main issue. But at least we had cold water. And I remember a couple of times they will have no water. And people, fortunately, we had a small village across the street, and they had a couple wells. So people will run there with buckets getting water out of the wells. So that's, but otherwise, power was fine. There's a comment from Tiki Man Dude. Tornado touched here in Madison, Alabama. About, oh my goodness, I'm sorry to hear that. So Madison, Alabama, they got tornado. Fortunately, where I live, Southwest Michigan, I spend a lot of time in Michigan, so I use my hand now, my palm, to show where I live. It looked like we almost had tornado because we had an area not far from our place. It actually looks like there's a path. So it's like a semi truck was rolling through the air and knocking the pine trees and other trees, and then we have like a small area woods forest, and over there it looks like a drunk giant just was snapping trees, knocking them down. So like the whole area they're destroyed. So we got lucky in that regards, but the power got knocked out and was gone for so Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, so like 2 full days. And I'm end up coughing up $1,000 and buying generator because we just bought a bunch of half of a cow. Some reason my wife decided to go with her daughter, my stepdaughter, and they bought part of a cow. So we had a lot of meat in the freezer. So suddenly we were afraid we are gonna lose that meat. So okay. Hello there from Massachusetts. Once again, I caught your stream unexpectedly. Thank you, Jose. Happy you got me. And a message from Rebecca, my new member. Hey, I enjoy your show. Question: since you and I are very same in age, so we're young and beautiful. I was curious about summer of 1981 in the Soviet Union. We in the West were all obsessed about British royal wedding. Was in USSR. No, the British royal one didn't make big news. Of course, I was only 10. Uh, Soviet media wasn't paying attention to that type of events. It was kind of considered, bourgeois. I can't even think what 81 would be famous for besides I turned 10. Well, there was a year after Olympics in the Soviet Union. War in Afghanistan was turned into the worst. Soviet Union was there at that time. Can't think of any other events, but that was kind of like a height of the Cold War. That was the years when I was scared, afraid of the nuclear exchange. And I think I shared the story many times. We had this children's movie. In the movie, a kid found a match. What I did. So the match box, and it had 3 matches, and that's like magic matches. Every time you break the match, you can make a wish and it comes true. And when I was thinking if I had that magic box, I would my first wish will be is to make sure there's no war in the world. So I was like 10, but I was already so freaking out about nuclear exchange. Of course, it's on TV, on the radio, on the newspaper. So my first wish as a 10-year-old kid, no nuclear war. And then my second wish will be I live forever. And the third wish, my parents live forever. So 3 wishes, but first one was peace in the world. So at least you can give me credit for that. So yeah, so there's and of course, I spent quite a lot of time in the village during the summer break, and over there, of course, periodically you lose power, but I was always outside. And besides using electricity as a light, my grandparents didn't need it. They didn't have a refrigerator, didn't have a TV. So if there was a loss of power, we probably even wouldn't notice. But of course, the big difference between like power grid in the former Soviet Union and like here in Michigan, not all the states. Like if you look at the map of Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, like zoom it up, it looks like the oh my goodness paper. So paper lines, and then you have so it's like a cross lines, like right. You got roads going each way every mile, and you have a power lines go everywhere each mile. So if the strong wind knocks it can do a lot of damage just because it's so many power lines. Because here people live all over the place. It was a one first experience when I came to America in '95, and I was riding bicycle around in the area. I was like, there's a homes everywhere. Every so often house farm. In Ukraine and Russia, it's a village. Then you have like a 5 kilometers. There's another village. So you have just a one power line, right, connecting villages. So it's way less damage, if any. And of course, I don't remember any severe weather like that happen often. So we didn't have a giant crazy snowstorms like here at Lake Effect. We didn't have these winds or tornadoes at all. Like tornadoes were unheard of. And it was easier to fix because you have one line connecting villages or towns. So it's easier to fix damage if the tree fell over the line instead of like there's the trees everywhere and there's the power lines everywhere. So in that regards, I think the grid was way more stable. And then it got worse after the Soviet Union disappeared. Once again, I didn't experience it in Kiev, capital of Ukraine. The Ukrainian government, new Ukrainian government, still wanted power 24/7. But one time we went for work to Kharkiv, and that's like a Donbass area, eastern Ukraine. So we went to local power plant to fix. They had our system of communication. At that time, I worked at the place that was making these radio relay systems, and we stayed in a hotel, and just killing time playing cards, and suddenly at 9 p.m. lights went out, and I was like, oh crap, what happened? And the lady like, oh, it's planned. They shut off power in our area at 9 p.m. because they don't have enough juice to supply the whole town, because they switching from socialist way to capitalist way. People still don't pay bills, so the plant doesn't have money to buy coal. So then we complained to the company that actually was a power plant. So they move us to their own hotel, which didn't have electricity shut off at the evening. So that's the only time I remember when it was like no power, but it was a planned blackout kind of scenario. So all right, see if we can answer some of your questions. We got people from Tokyo. Hello. I don't remember talking to somebody from Tokyo yet, but I got a postcard from Japan one time from one of my subscribers. So let's see what we got. Your questions. Once again, thank you for joining. I got almost 56 people. I said it'll be a short live because I need to go to bed early. I just decided we'll do 30 minutes. Maybe we'll do another 30 minutes tomorrow. Just trying to catch up with these lives that I missed. Okay. A lot of Ukrainians in North Alabama. Interesting. I didn't know about that. Usually I know Ukrainians or Russians and a lot of people from former Soviet Union. They tend to settle in the big cities like Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco. So yeah, sure. So there's a comment. Was someone my subscriber was stationed in the United Kingdom in the '80s. So I assume you were in military, maybe even U.S. Navy, and picked up English language Pravda and other Soviet newspapers. Yeah, if you don't mind to send it to me, I can send you back. So I can we can make videos on that. It'll be interesting because if it's English language Pravda, I didn't know there's one is available. And to tell me, I can tell you my address. Just a second. I think it's everywhere in my comments. So this is you can use this address, and I got another set of nice stamps. I'm planning to make a separate video for my subscriber. So if he found more Soviet stamps of his grandfather, so Ushanka Show, PO Box 96, Beer Springs, Michigan 49103. If you're not familiar with Beer Springs, I'm not surprised. Small town, but we had a Muhammad Ali lived here for a long time, and I actually met him once at the postal office. I met his daughter once measuring for carpet. She used to rent apartment in St. Joe. I don't remember the name of her name. And my in-laws used to own a furniture, mattress, flooring store. So we sold some mattresses to Ali Estate. He bought a estate that used to belong to a lawyer of Al Capone. So kind of interesting story. Al Capone used to come to Southwest Michigan to relax. So yeah, that'll be great if you can send those newspapers. That could be fantastic to go through them. And I even don't need to translate it; it's already in English. So that'll be awesome. Thank you so much. So we got people in Knoxville, Tennessee, talking about tornado warning. Uh, I drove through on the way from Louisiana once, and I think it was Tennessee. There was like hidden sea underground caves, and there was like hurricane went by the area one time. It was pretty scary looking. Very important year for Warhammer. He was born in 1981. Man, I'm starting feeling old. Okay, let's see. So there's a comment. The moment Russian negotiators in Turkey were bragging that they could fight Ukraine forever, I realized that they knew they could not never conquer Ukraine. Uh, and this is, of course, really painful topic, but this is the same story repeats itself over and over again. Russia stepped on the same rake quite a few times in history, although they proudly claim and Putin claims that Russia never lost. They got themselves in this quick, short, victorious war with Japan back in 1904, and that caused they lost, and then that caused the February Revolution. That's when the Tsar lost power. So that was the first rake they stepped on, and they thought, little tiny Japan, what would be the problem to fight them? Where's that book I want to show you? Shoot, I just saw it in my reflection. Anyway, so that's a Solzhenitsyn book. I see it in this on the screen, but I don't. I think I'm looking the wrong way. That's probably what it is. So when I was listening on YouTube, there is a Russian audiobook, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, August of 1914. This is so bizarre. Like he describes events of August 1914. So this is a beginning of the World War One, and how patriotic everyone was in Russia, and how they were excited that the war began. There was a lot of patriotism, and we're gonna kick ass. We're gonna win against Germany, Austria, and actually Nikolai was planning to take over the uh, Mediterranean Straits. So where the Turkey is, Bosphorus, they wanted to occupy the territories to have a free access to the Mediterranean Sea from Black Sea. And then it's kind of the story progresses. So he wrote this book in the 60s. And it's interesting how he goes and talks about how people's attitude was changing from this being super patriotic, 1972. And it slowly kind of goes down the hill, and they start protesting the war. And Russia lost in World War One. They signed up separate peace with Germany, lost a bunch of territories, and of course then Bolsheviks took the power, so the whole Russian Empire collapsed. So this scenario goes over and over again. So I think Putin once again made exactly the same mistake, and that's most likely will be the end of the modern Russian Empire, because Russian Federation is the last old-fashioned land empire that remained in Europe, and it's the only way you can keep empire together is constantly attacking neighbors and being militarized. So yeah, so that was it's kind of hard read, especially I listen in Russian in original language, but it's good. It's really good. It's a part of this. He's called the Red Wheel. It's a bunch of books, and he kind of follows people and events. But August 1914, it basically shows modern day Russia. It's exactly like Russia was in 1914 after this initial excitement disappeared, and then it's like, oh my goodness, it looks exactly the same what's going on now in Russia. So 1980 U.S. hockey win in Olympics was more memorable from that era. The Miracle on Ice, I agree. And of course, that was not a big deal in Soviet Union. There was upset, but they look at it as a hiccup, because if you look at next Olympics, Soviet Union once again took gold. We got some of my old supporters and subscribers. Koala, thank you for joining. Oh my goodness, quite a few people joined. Thank you so much. Once again, I apologize I couldn't do uh, live on the weekend because of the we lost power. No tornadoes in Ukraine. There's a word for tornado called smerch, and periodically they say there was a strong wind that it will rip like roof tiles. My mom said she remember one when she was a little kid. So there was extremely seldom. Most of the time, the weather is pretty mild. I cannot tell you why. Like United States with this whole tornado valley, this is really bizarre kind of setup. I'm not sure. I'm not into that stuff. Like tornado, still, it's a kind of miracle for me how that happens. There's just vacuum appears out of nowhere, starts sucking, destroying stuff. So, but yeah, I don't remember anything like tornado wise in Ukraine. No poison ivy in Ukraine, no ticks in Ukraine. So Ukraine is a pretty good place to live until Russia attacked it. So let's see. So next question: do you think any socialist communist group could win election in the United States? If they did, what do you think would happen? Uh, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's a Communist Party of United States has a website. I don't know how many members they have, but I don't think they're doing too hot. But for a lot of like conservatives who are not educated conservatives, anybody that left of them they consider socialist or communist, which of course not true. I mean, there's a specific I don't know, say requirements or rules that what socialism, right? No private ownership of means of production, right? So until Democrats will start claiming you can't own a business or you can't own pickup truck because could be used as a means of production, we're not talking about any type of form of socialism. It's definitely I'm planning to make it's a way above my head, but I want to make several videos kind of work the topic of Marxism because it's kind of like the basis what kind of Soviet Union, Soviet Russia, and then Soviet Union kind of followed that theory, which became ideology. So it's interesting to discuss because there's a lot of things in Marxism kind of make sense when you look as a theory, and a lot of theories make sense, like anarchy. Yeah, we don't need government, we don't need the rules, because if everyone is good person, then there'd be no crime. But in reality, it's different. And socialism, once again, on theory, sounds great, right? But in reality, once again, human nature, it fails every time. There's not a single country, you know, managed to be successful implementing socialism. Of course, China is not socialist; it's just the Communist Party has a monopoly on power, but they embraced capitalism with the central planning. So they made like a hybrid economy. Like a Prius is a hybrid car using electric power and gasoline engine. And similarly, China kind of looked at the Soviet experience and they basically did the hybrid. They run the show as a centrally planned capitalist economy. So they do a lot of involvement of the government, which direction they want economy to grow, the credits, all that stuff, a tax break. So we see the result. I mean, it's probably the largest economy in the world. Of course, population is way bigger than the United States. There's a question from Captain Laser. Why did Soviet Union ditch Expo 1967, which ended up in Montreal? I have no idea. I actually have one of Canadian subscribers that sent me some postcards from that expo. I have no clue. 67, I think I'm not sure if Nikita Khrushchev was still president. He removed. Because for Khrushchev it was a big deal to present Soviet Union all over the world as like a bright, shiny star of socialism. That first in space, first in this, first in that. So for him, this expos will be important. Like before that, Stalin did quite a big presentations in was that it was the United States in New York. It was a giant Soviet expo, and then was one in France where there was the German and Soviet Union were right across from each other. In a couple of years, they started the war. But honestly, I have no idea. Uh, what some other person says they participated. Okay, we got Ohio here. Let's see what else we got. Buenos Aires. Oh, we got even South America. I'm telling you, these modern technologies. I don't get tired of being kind of like impressed and amazed at what technologies do these days. We have a person from Tokyo, Buenos Aires, all over the United States. This is so cool. Let's see. We got Lindsay here. Привет, товарищ. Okay, so comment the Lost Sea. So that's the caves called the Lost Sea. Yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed it. Lake Inside was really cool to go there. So I visited Lost Sea by myself, and then I took kids to Mammoth Caves. So we experienced that. That was really neat. I truly enjoyed it. I was like, I like to travel. Less interested in cities, but I like nature wonders. So like, I hiked Grand Canyon all the way down to the bottom and up in one day, a long time ago when I was younger and stronger, when I was still like a mule, because I did a lot of moving, going up and down the ramps and stairs. So I hiked the Grand Canyon in one day. It was no issues, but that was neat. See what else we got. Your questions. We got Canada here. It's first time seeing you live. Hello, anybody who saw me first time see me live? It's Kron Sergey was one of the t-shirts that I got from one of my subscribers, Mosin Sniper. So, yep. Okay, so let's see. I want to say I love watching your videos and appreciate all the work you've done. Curious, when do you do a video about Ukraine in Russia? Well, I have a separate playlist about the war. I kind of don't talk much about it recently. My younger brother, I have a brother who is 15 years my junior. He's right now in the Ukrainian military. And you guys helped me to buy him a nice battery pack for his unit. And I'm sending him supplies, military boots, because American boots made, United States, and they're not made in America, but the like boots you can get here, military grade, way better quality what the Ukrainian soldiers get. So I sent him several pairs of boots, socks, and stuff like that. But right now it's like a stalemate, and it's pretty much. I'm just waiting for Putin to die, because that's the only way I think this war gonna stop. Obviously, I never believed that Trump was gonna stop this war on day one or day two, day three. So it's until that guy will be in Kremlin, that war won't stop. Unfortunately, it's just he kind of painted himself in a corner. All right. What's the question? Did your father like Grandpa Sergey Moonshine? No, he's actually he failed the son-in-law test. I think I made a video a long time ago, because when you make moonshine, the first stuff that comes out is like super strong. It's like a clear, ever clear level, like pure, right? You put the match it lights, and then it gets weaker, and it's we call it первак. So it's like almost like the first or firster. So первак is like the strongest moonshine. So when my mother brought her boyfriend at that time, or to introduce to her parents, my grandpa did this son-in-law test. Is basically offering my father, my future father, um, a drink, and see, those shots like the one I have behind me. As my kids got me for Christmas, and just watch him. And my dad didn't refuse, so he got so wasted the next day. He was like holding his heart. He was like in really bad shape, and that's when my grandpa told my mother, "Don't marry that guy. He's already like he can't say no to vodka. He's already alcoholic." And they're like, they got married. My dad is 1946. My mom 47. They got married in 1970. So my mother was like what 22. My dad was 24. And yeah, my grandpa was correct. My dad never stopped drinking. But he never touched that bottle. Remember, I showed you we bought it in 1982, and I asked him not to touch it, and he never touched that. So yeah, I need to finish that one too. So, and then if you remember my story when I was in LA in 1996, I think it was 1996, maybe 97. There was the lady that worked with my cousin at the pawn shop owned by the former Soviet citizen who moved to LA. And she invited us for dinner. And it was kind of, at that time, I didn't know about my dad's test and him failing. So we were eating, having good food conversation. It was a bottle of Absolute vodka. And the guy, was pouring my cousin. He's like a health freak, don't touch alcohol. Also, it's just that guy and me. So we had one shot, second shot, and he gives me a third shot, and I'm already kind of has a little, like I'm drunk, not bad, but have good buzz. And he went off again, and I just like thanks, I'm good. And he just was just almost like being rude. Come on, let's do another one. Let's do another one. And I was like, dude, I'm like serious. I'm having a good time. I'm feeling good. If I drink anymore, I'll feel like crap tomorrow. I don't want to drink anymore. I'm fine. So he finally gave up. And like next day, my cousin says, like, hey, this lady and her husband were so impressed that you said no to vodka. They would like you to meet their daughter. I was like, holy shit. Well, uh, what a standard, like what a low bar. Like guy can say no to vodka. We want him to meet our daughter, but that was how bad it was in the Soviet Union. So that was kind of good thing for the nerds like me. If you just not drinking all the time, it's already like holy shit, this guy is golden. Any like my mother told me that a lot of her friends from work constantly wanted. Um, Introduced to me to their daughters because like hey, he's smart, he doesn't drink, and he doesn't smoke either, so he's like perfect husband. So yeah, standard super low. And we got traditional thank you for your donation, you're always so generous, call at 1203. Thank you so much. We will put a little heart from my little big Soviet heart. Thank you again. Thoughts of 1825 Decembrist revolt, Восстание декабристов. Was that event taught in Soviet schools? Yes. It was actually the Decabristi revolt. There was a big deal in history books because they could kind of drag that's like a first socialist, uprising, not socialist, but against the Tsar regime and all that stories, how they went through, s- most of them weren't executed, they were sent to exile, their wives went to exile. And actually, unfortunately, I cannot show you the picture. Maybe I do. I just discovered the book, and I discovered that book is available in English. And there's like apparently they made a movie. I wonder if you're gonna see it. They it's the book and the movie called Within the Whirlwind. And so this is a lady who ended up in a Gulag labor camp, first in prison, and they made the movie based on her book. I listened to this book right now in Russian, and holy crap, this is like uh, female story similar to Gulag Archipelago of Solzhenitsyn, but it's from this lady perspective who got arrested. She was the wife of the local party leader, so they arrested her first because she was working with some professors who happened a while back to write something that Stalin didn't like. So he got arrested first, you know, claimed that he was a part of the Trotskyist uh, terrorist group, and then she got sucked in, and that's her journey. She got 10 years of solitary prison, then it was changed to labor camps. And that book is like she was a professional journalist and writer, so her story, like, really good. I strongly recommend. So, what the heck is her name? Goldberg or something? So someone mentioned that on one Russian YouTube channels that she in this book she mentioned in Ukrainian nationalists showing up in the Gulag labor camps. So I got interested and I downloaded this book and I was like, holy cow! I listen on the way to work every day while driving. I can tell you her name in a second. I strongly recommend. It's this book was published in the 70s in the United States in English, so you can find it. There's one book only on eBay, but if you can go to your local library, you can probably get on exchange. What's her name? Just a second. I'll tell you. Yeah, I'm okay. So her name is Evgenia Ginsburg. So it's a Ginzburg. So it's like Evgenia, Eugene. Well, that's a female name. Ginsburg. Outstanding book, and it basically shows the whole stages, how she's in solitary, and then Yezhov got replaced, removed. I think first was let's see, before Yezhov there was a Yagoda, right? I think. So they were explaining how the Yezhov introduced uniforms. Before that, they were wearing just their regular street clothing. Whatever they got arrested, that's what they were wearing for years in prison. Then Yezhov introduced uniforms, and they were called Yezhovsky uniforms. And then Yezhov got removed, and then I guess government realized that we're spending way too much money to keep people in prisons. So she was like an early stage, like 1937 beginning, and then they started shipping people to labor camps so they work. So she is mentioning. I'm talking back to the koala question about Decemberist revolt. So that's like well-known story, and there's a poems about the wives of these decabristi being sent to exile to Siberia, and the wives full of them. So they had like this poems they knew about. Now they are experiencing the same because their husbands got arrested. They were, like prominent communists, and the wives got arrested just for being a wife of a prominent communist. So they've kind of like followed the husbands to Siberia or go ahead of the husband. So they saying, my goodness, those girls had easy because these girls like bad shape. Like they were treated poorly. They were getting 1 cup of water a day while being on a train to Vladivostok. So they like dying from dehydration, from poor malnutrition, heat. It's like a cattle, of course, cattle car trains. Uh, and it took them a month to get from Kazan to Vladivostok, and then they were put on the ships, on the steamboats, and they took them to Kolyma, to Gulag labor. And they were like actually excited because they were confined in prison, and now they've been shipped to labor camp. They're like, woohoo! At least we can be on the fresh air, working, doing something good for our country. Because a lot of them were like hardcore communists. They were just like Comrade Stalin made a mistake. He realized that mistakes were made. He removed Yezhov. Now Beria gonna fix everything. Really good book. Strongly recommend. Evgenia Ginsburg, uh, within the whirlpool. Let me see if I can find it. It's available on Amazon. Let me just shoot you that link. Who is interested? It's pretty cheap. I hope I won't raise the price because last time I recommended book, price skyrocketed for that. And of course, when you enter Ginsburg, there's a different Ginsburg shows up. Whirlwind. Nope. Overdose. My goodness. No kidding. Can't even find it for some reason. Did I find her last name wrong? Just a second. Sorry about that. I thought it was Ginsburg. Yeah. Maybe it's Z. Huh. For some reason, my book doesn't want to show. Nope. Doesn't show up for some reason. But anyways, it's available on Amazon for like under $10. Outstanding book. Strongly recommend. So all right, let me get a couple more questions, then I'll be wrapping up because I need to go to bed soon. So let's see if I can catch up with you. We got comment from Lindsay Shepard, who is writing Russian and using Latin words. That she has my book and she uh, thinks it's fantastic. So thank you so much. She's using bad language in Russian, but I appreciate that. So there's a comment of Anna who grew up in Poland. I don't remember any severe storms in Poland. Yeah, it's kind of similar climate, really mild. But we had one very cold winter in 78, 79. It's actually all over the world. I found stories about Michigan, Indiana. They had tons of snow. I asked my mother about that because someone asked me to make a video. My mother doesn't remember anything. I kind of barely remember seeing a lot of snow in Kiev. I said I was in 78. So that's the year I went to school. So I was 7 going to first grade. And I just remember just there was a lot of snow in our area in Kiev. Oh, there's another question from another my member. Did the dust storm on Friday from Chicago make it to Beer Springs? It did. We were actually because we had no power, uh, so cooking was a little bit challenging. Well, I said I ended up buying generators so we could do some cooking. So we went to not New Buffalo, but that direction, and there's a pretty decent place called the Red Arrow Roadhouse. It's like a bar eatery. I got decent food, and we were like on the patio, and yeah, my wife said like, yeah, they're talking about some dust storm coming from Chicago, and then next thing you know, it's just everything got this kind of weird color, and yeah, we had that, and it's really bizarre. The climate is definitely pretty wild these days. But yeah, it's I assume it's not from Chicago. It blew over from Chicago because I guess it's like a dust bowl story repeats. Tilled land is too dry and the wind picks it up and throws it around. And we got another donation. Thank you so much from Semi-Fiction. Thank you. Hello, Sergey. Did you get to hear from your brother? Hope all is well. So yeah, my brother got drafted. He serves in Ukrainian military. He recently went home for 2 weeks for like a little break. So stayed in Kiev and chilled. We talked a couple of times. So yeah, he's a part of the unit that hunts Russian drones. So he's a communication unit, getting commands which way to shoot, kind of stuff like that. And he's also this is kind of interesting. Like I'm a book smart, and he's more like street smart guy. He doesn't like reading books ever. He hated school, but he found passion and he likes electronics. He took apart every single item, like TV, radios, stereos. He took all my stereos apart when I left for the United States. He took apart everything but a refrigerator and put it together, most of it. And then he got the trade school. So that's what he kind of does. He does all the fixing generators, uh, installing wiring wherever needs it, fix all the kind of electronic related stuff. So he's like really good with it. So that's what they like about him. So that's he does a lot. So yeah, it's scary. So now he's back at the front lines, and now fortunately with the modern technology we can talk through Telegram. So I'm kind of getting news from him, but of course, he can't tell much. So just fighting and trying to stay alive and shoot down as much drones as possible. Let's see what else we can get you here. Have you seen movie Doctor Strangelove? I don't think so, but I watched every single movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I even didn't see the movie the Doctor Zhivago. It's actually one of when I used to work at the furniture store. One of the customers got really upset and brought me videotape. It's still at VCR times. He's like, I can't believe you didn't see Doctor Zhivago. I was like, no. That book actually, I think, was banned in the Soviet Union, and of course, an American movie never made it. I need to watch it. So, question: Soviet Ukraine, were people afraid of American nuclear bombs? What in the early '80s, like when we had this, Soviet Union went to Afghanistan, so that's when things got really tense. So yeah, that's what I remember. We didn't do the duck and cover drills and stuff like that. Kind of what we did also when we were like in the eighth grade, ninth grade, we had initial military training. That's what's kind of you see flash from the right, you jump to the left, and you cover your head. But we didn't do that on the desks. But I remember being concerned about it. Thumbs up on no ticks. Yeah, that's a I spent all summer when I was in the northern Ukraine mushroom hunting, going for wild berries. So we spent a lot of times in the woods, and the worst thing you can get there would be, of course, mosquitoes. They were everywhere. That was the worst. And then stinging nettles. So that's the green plant that kind of pokes you. It hurts, but it's nothing like poison ivy or ticks. So that was wonderful. Like here in Michigan, you don't go to woods in the summer at all. There's either poison ivy or ticks. So that's kind of sad. Hey, we got Grand Haven. We got neighbors here. Hello. Hope you guys didn't lose power. Let's see what else we got. Your questions here. Sister asked, have you seen the Belarusian movie Come and See? Oh, yeah. I mean, I made a video about it. I'm surprised you missed it, sister. I did. I didn't like it. They actually made us to go as a part from school. Come. And so they claimed that movie was a lot of millions of people want to see it, but a lot of people went because we were like made to go see it. I hated that movie. I was still too young. It was too hardcore. So I have a video on this topic. See, caps come and see. But yeah, it's I still kind of I remember little snippets. It said about that girl walking around with a whistle in her mouth, and yeah, it's that was traumatizing. Okay, we got another donation from my generous supporter Koala. Thank you so much. Do you still think Russia would liberalize if the Decembrists succeed in their 1825 revolt, or this new liberal government would fall apart in devolved in another dictatorship? Well, that's the only way empires can exist is to have a dictatorship. Empires don't last in democratic government, and I don't know. Russia was empire, still empire. It's remember what happened during the Yeltsin regime. The regime wasn't regime. Chechnya tried to break away. Other republics were like talking about it. So that's really freaked out Kremlin. Although Yeltsin officially announced you can grab as much independence as you want, and the Chechnya like, okay, we're a Republic of Ichkeria, bye. And next thing you know, they started the first Chechen war. So yeah, empires they cannot survive. They constantly need to be dictatorship. They need to keep their own people on the thumb and harass all the neighbors around, and they constantly try to expand. It's just nature of the beast, unfortunately. Okay, well, I was promising in 30 minutes, but we about an hour, so I will do 1 hour, and then I need to wrap it up. Maybe we'll get to 100 people watching, or at least see if we can get 100 likes. We got 53 so far, so if you join me and you missed it, to put the like, please give me. So let's see. I'll keep on going with your questions. Let's see. Got people watching Masters, Jeopardy Masters, and watch my live later. It's fine. Okay, so Andre, he lives in Canada. He has the answer about the 1967 um, World Fair or Expo. It used to be called World Fair, right? And then it changed to Expo. Uh, tu- 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 tu. Move along. So we got some discussion about Canada, and yeah, I think it's a giant distraction that Trump does. I'm trying to saying that Canada should become a 51st state. It's really bizarre, but I think it's just a distraction. But I think recently he quit talking about it. But you know, besides everything else, adding Canada, even if it's like okay, Canada, be like sure, it's a 30 some or 40 million people, right? And majority there Canadians is comparing with the United States, especially the southern states, a quite liberal country. So you're going to add another California. And since the population just like California, yeah, good luck to see the Republican president anytime soon if you have Canada join. But yeah, that's like Greenland. It's just, I don't know. It's embarrassing personally, but this whole conversation about occupying Greenland and making Canada 51st state, it's like insane. Turning Gaza into Trump golf course. It's just crazy. Any recommended reading about Comrade Trotsky, founder of Red Army? He got a really good book about Stalin. Depending what's the topics you're interested in on that. I have quite a few of his books actually here. There you go. It's in Russian, but the Stalin School of Falsification. So that's him analyzing Stalin. And then, of course, he has a book called My Life. I strongly recommend that one. It just generally he talks the story of how he became a revolutionary. Uh, I don't think Soviet Union would do differently under Trotsky if Trotsky will become once again he had to be a dictator, and Trotsky was a not a nice person, to put it that way. The way he was handling civil war was pretty ugly, but it's just you can't be a nice person and win civil war. So, but there's also used to be, I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube. There's really good Russians back in the day made really good Trotsky um, TV series, and that was really good. I was impressed because they finally admitted that Trotsky was actually the person who was behind October coup. At that time, all the Bolsheviks had to escape uh, St. Petersburg or Petrograd at that time because they were supposed to be arrested. And Trotsky at that time, I don't think he was still Bolshevik, so he remained and he basically organized everything. And then he was removed. That's kind of this kind of weirdest thing that he was completely removed from our history books. Like he did not exist at all. Like it wasn't even mentioned in our history books, like at all. Like not a single word. It's so wild. I don't think that they don't have it. Unfortunately, they removed it from YouTube. But that was fantastic. Called Trotsky. They just have little snippets of that show, but yeah, that was a really good movie, a very good TV series, and I was shocked when they're like, "Oh, you know what? Okay, hopefully there's English subtitles or maybe dubbing, but I'll give you the link. It's 6 hours 30 minutes, all the parts. So I would strongly recommend. A really good show. Trotsky TV. I'm definitely misspelled Trotsky, but it's okay. I hope you guys enjoy that. Boom. Here it goes. I would rather hear about Soviet power grid. So yeah, our power grid was good. So I can say, well, especially living in a big city like Kiev and the capital. But electricity was actually quite expensive. When I compared, buying power Soviet engineer and 4 capex kilowatt an hour versus like here in Michigan, it's like almost pushing 40 or 50 cents for kilowatt hour. So electricity was actually quite pricey in the Soviet Union, and I grew up and I brought that habit. United States is you never keep your lights on if you don't need them. You walk in the room, you turn the light on. You leave the room, you turn the light off. And it took me forever to teach my American family members to turn the lights off them because they just like grew up. We didn't care. Lights outside at night, like waiting for guests. No, I just want them. It looks pretty. So that was really bizarre. So I grew up on turning lights off because it's like when your apartment your rent is 10 rubles and then electric bill is 3 rubles. It's like a third of your apartment rent. That's a lot of money, right? So yeah, that was I grew up. So we got another donation from Tilt Soul. Greetings from Australia by Estonian. Wow. I should recommend a movie called Lila Forever. It's on YouTube. Huh, interesting. We might need to check it out. But thank you so much for your donation. Appreciate it. Lila Forever. Interesting. So, okay. All right. So we got 5 more minutes. I'll go from the back. So there's like some comment. As a Canadian, I'm not opposed to us or US to become a 51st state. Uh, I said that there's a people in Ukraine that are not opposed to be part of Russia, but most Ukrainians are willing to fight Russians. So it's every state has a. There's probably quite a few people in Mexico would like to become a 52nd state, but I don't think most Americans would like that. So it's technically, the Canada. When I drove through Canada, besides like a speed limit in kilometers, there's really similar, a lot of similarities. I never reached to like French part, but otherwise, yeah, it's a lot of similarities here. Okay, I'm catching up with your donations. Another one for Aaron. Thank you so much. Is there rationing in present day Ukraine? I don't think so. I don't think they have a shortage. My mother didn't mention anything besides, of course, people pensions, like there's a shortage of money. Uh, for example, well, it's a complicated. So, like my parents got a 3-room apartment. So was they wouldn't have a rent or mortgage because apartment was still purchased during the Soviet days, but it's a pretty large by Ukrainian standard apartments, Soviet standards. So my mom pension is pretty much would all go just to pay utilities, like water supply, hot water supply, and as one of the problems with the Soviet apartments, it was built without any concerns about insulation and efficiency. So it becomes like a big SUV where you can't afford gas. It's nice to have a big SUV, but you just can't afford gas because when you got that SUV, gasoline was pretty much close to free. So you could drive around and never bother. Suddenly, gas is expensive. So it's like, unfortunately, I don't know, apartment is not like a car that you can just ditch it to get a smaller car. So technically, my mother would need to sell this apartment and get yourself a small apartment, or my brother. Like my brother could afford it, he can afford it, but like I'm paying right now for my family apartment in Kiev, and it's yeah, the last time it was like $200 or $150. It varies, of course. In the winter it's more expensive because everything is so inefficient. The central hot water supply, inefficient and expensive. Building is not insulated, so a lot of heat is being wasted, and of course people have to pay for it now. So just this is like this white elephants, big this Soviet era buildings is just losing energy from everything. So that's pretty ugly. So let's see what else we got. One more question. If I find it here, I'll be wrapping up. So yeah, people remember 1978 blizzard. I said unfortunately I was too young to remember, but I've seen pictures like I follow some Facebook pages like Indiana, Michigan, and they talk about it all the time, like how much big was snow and stuff. Okay, we got one more donation, and let's see. Okay, sister, thank you so much. Have you ever worn still have a Telnyashka shirt? So I don't know if you noticed, like it's a Soviet sailors, and then also airborne. They have this like white shirt with the stripes, Telnyashka, blue stripes or black stripes. I don't think I had one. I always knew name, but it's like mostly for sailors. I never owned one, but yeah, it's a well-known, famous outfit. Probably can even buy it now somewhere, but there's it. So yeah. All right. So maybe Alberta is voting to independence Donbass style. I don't know if it's illegal according to the laws in Canada. I know, like, I remember French Quebec for a long time. They have a big movement to be independent country, a part of Canada, but it never happened. So I don't know. So, anyways, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We're exactly at 1 hour instead of 30 minutes, and I need to go to bed. I will see how it goes tomorrow. We may do another short live, shorter than today. So, anyways, once again, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching my videos. If your comments, appreciate it, and have a good night.